Stay away from debt and instead become the lender. That was the fourth great truth that God taught me when I was reading the book of Proverbs in order to prosper in life. The scripture for that is Proverbs 22, verse 7. It says, the rich rule over the poor. The borrower is servant to the lender. And I realized that debt is a killer. So I had to do everything I could to stay away from debt and unnecessary debt like borrowing money to build our church or borrowing money to buy a house. I had to do everything I could to secure the lowest interest and pay it off as quick as I could. And this is why I tell young couples, when you buy a house, plan to pay it off in 15 years, not 30 years. It pays dividends when you try to get out of debt. When it comes to buying cars, if you're barely getting started, buy a car that's 1 to 3 years old. Let someone else take the depreciation. And yet you'll have a car that's practically new anyway. And then when you go buy a car, consider only two things. What does the car cost and what's the interest rate you're going to pay? And yet most people, see, rich people, they think of interest and what the car cost. But poor people, they think of what are my monthly payments. That's why you go to a car dealer, the first thing the car salesperson is told to do is ask you, what do you want your monthly payments to be? But see, poor people only think of monthly payments. They're ignorant about the real cost of owning things. No, the real cost is the interest and what the cost is that you're purchasing. But rich people, they're always thinking differently than poor people. And so as I read the book of Proverbs as a teenager, and then I read other good financial books, I began to realize the power of interest. So that if I borrow at a high interest, I'm paying a lot more for that thing than I should. But then I couldn't just simply be borrowing, I have to be the lender. And that's where investments come in. So I began to learn to take my money and put it into solid investments that earned interest, that earned money. So I just purchased the S&P stocks. That's all I do now, after years of learning, is they just produce the better returns. And if I'm patient and put money away every single month, then that money begins to grow. And friend, I've learned to become the head, not the tail, because now I'm lending instead of borrowing. And when you live this way, friend, you're going to find yourself in time becoming very wealthy. Those are the 4 lessons. One of the 4 lessons I learned in the book of Proverbs.